Fred, what are you doing now to, during planting season to make sure that your farming operation is more sustainable?
Well, things have changed around here on the farm the last few years. We're probably trying more and more to be more sustainable than we ever have, and I think we are. We are totally no-till here, and we have been able to grow 37% more corn off the same amount of fertilizer, and that's pretty doggone good. We've saved 86% more soil by going no-till. And the great thing about this whole thing is our carbon footprint is so much less, and I think we ought to be rewarded for that. So as a lot of people are talking about how farms have grown, the biggest reason farms have grown is because we've been doing some of these things to make us more efficient because margins are small. So as farms do grow, it's still a family farm, and we have to make sure that people understand that we are mainly family farms, but we're doing things much more that causes the environment less harm than we ever have.
Fred, so the stuff behind you, the stuff that's left over on the ground that people might not recognize, now that's a result of no-till?
This field here has been no-tilled for about 8 years in a row now. Everything I have is no-till. What it does is it leaves the trash on top, or I shouldn't call it trash, it's stover, but it's like a big giant blanket to protect the ground from big rains and so forth, that the soil stays put, the fertilizer stays put for the next crop, and so we think this is a very valuable thing to do to make sure that we utilize all the nutrients and not have to add nutrients each time we farm.
So basically by not tilling up the ground, you're capturing the carbon and keeping it in the ground?
By capturing the rain and the water and keeping the runoff from the ground going down into the drainage just down the road here, we keep it right here, and therefore our carbon footprint is much less than if we didn't do no-till.
When you start planting, what do you do to be more sustainable then? What techniques do you use?
Well, again, I'm a completely no-till, and so I've got different attachments on my planter to make sure that the ground is properly conditioned before I put that seed in that slot. So all I'm doing is basically strip tilling that little slot, and therefore the rest of it stays undisturbed. And the one thing we have to do, it takes a lot of management. Even though it's no-till and it's quicker, it takes a lot more management. Timing is absolutely critical, that we wait until it's fit and that we don't do the soil any harm when we're in there too wet.
But you also have modern equipment like what you're standing with, modern ways to plant corn that requires less fertilizer, less inputs?
The machinery we have to use today is just phenomenal. This tractor here has got GPS. I have mapping here that I go ahead and I can control exactly what the field's going to look like, what varieties, and then also as I harvest it, it gives me a yield map of what it does. So it's much more scientific than it used to be. It used to be a lot of gut checking, but now it's much more scientific, where we can actually know what we're doing out here, and if we add a different fertilizer or a different seed, we can actually understand if it really does pay for itself or not, because of the research we get off of the maps.